Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today's webinar is titled, What's New at Liquidware? At this point, if you have any questions or comments, please place them in the chat or Q&A window, and the presenters will address as time allows. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent to you via email within a few business days. Today, presenting, we've got Jason E. Smith, VP Alliances and Product Marketing with Liquidware, and Chris Walker, Senior Solutions Architect and Subject Matter Expert for Stratosphere North America with Liquidware. Jason, you want to get us started?
Yes, thank you, Kristen. We look forward to doing this webinar every 6 months. So you're seeing this one, if you're watching the recording, you're watching it from December the 15th of 2022. If you're watching it in the 2023, you're probably seeing the most recent one until about June, and then we'll do the next one. So we like to share with our community what's new at Liquidware, and that's new, what's new with the products. And we've added a few new slides here, what's new in the industry, how we're leading the industry in several areas. So I think I may be messing up my own screen here. Are you seeing the cameras up front?
Yeah, I can see two cameras and you're on the presenter slide.
Yeah, so I didn't want to share all that out. We share a clean screen. Since this is being recorded, I'll pause here for a moment so it can be cleaned up really nicely. I like to start out with this slide at Liquidware to tell you that, what we do. So we provide digital workspace management across any Windows desktop. And that's where you start to think, how's Liquidware different than this little solution or that little solution or a variety of tools? Well, first and foremost, we work across all Windows workspaces. I said desktops, but we work across laptops as well. We work across physical, virtual, and cloud-hosted Windows desktops, server operating system versions when you're running those one-to-many, and also in the desktop operating versions, all the way through Windows 11, Windows 7 to Windows 11, and similarly with the server operating systems versions. We help with every phase of a desktop transformation, and we help you with ongoing management of those desktops in 3 key ways. We do that with user environment management that encapsulates the user's goodwill of that machine, and as soon as they log off, they're ready to log on to the next desktop. That could be cross OS, Windows 7 to 10 to 11, backwards and forwards, it doesn't matter. That user profile adapts at the very next login in seconds. It's not a downtime migration thing. It just simply works. So the user is off and running and productive, and they have the things that they need to get their job done. That is Profile Unity, user environment management. It has advanced features like application rights management, and you can also do context-aware settings and policy management that is well beyond group policy preferences. With our application layering solution known as FlexApp, we can attach applications and make them portable across any Windows operating system. And now with a new feature set known as FlexApp 1 that we've been delivering for about 18 months, those applications can actually go offline. Those applications can actually be deployed even within Intune or any kind of deployment software like those from Ivanti and from any other vendor that deploys software. You simply assign those simple containers and they go out to the end user desktop. They look like they're natively installed, and they're not. They don't taint the base image. So you keep Windows pristine and running fine with 0 Windows rot. And then with our monitoring and diagnostic solution, Stratosphere UX, literally means user experience or digital user experience, to help you know what's in use in the legacy environment, but more importantly, to be in the production environment so you can provide monitoring and diagnostics across all your Windows desktops. You can baseline the experience one against the other. You can also use it for help desk support. You can also help it to grow, use it to help grow and scale your deployment. So the way that you build out your Windows deployment today, if you're going to scale it up, for example, it may need to look differently. So you need to see where stress points are. It'll tell you all those things in the performance of those workspaces. Literally color coded by green, meaning good, yellow, cautious area, and red, you want to attend to it quickly to head off problems before they become mission critical showstoppers. So you have a non-stop desktop. Again, we set ourselves apart as the only vendor that provides this full digital workspace management across all Windows workspaces, virtual, cloud, and physical. We're going to go right into Profile Unity, and just a reminder what this looks like. If you're looking at the management console side of things, the admin side of things, this is chock full of feature sets, and I've circled the ones that are the most popular here. Everything from user profile portability to application rights management. You can also centrally manage your Flex apps and your Flex App One containers from here. Now, the Flex App One containers do not have to be managed through this way. You can just natively use Microsoft Intune to do that. This gives you added benefits for enterprises that want to see where these Flex App Ones have been deployed, being able to recall them more easily than Intune, and give you the added features of the inventory. So it helps you with license management of your applications as well. Context-aware settings that go across any type of policy management sets Profile Unity aside from a simple profile tool that may have an image on disk like FSLogix into a full-blown user environment management solution that not only gives you policy management, but it gives you an alternative way to manage that profile from a portable profile. The portable profile is based on Delta rule sets that only write back the small part of the profile that's changed. That means it can be used with Microsoft FSLogix. With Microsoft FSLogix or our own profile disk, you're really tied to one operating system. With the power of profile portability, which is this feature set right here in the middle, we write back the Delta files, the ones that have changed, in between every single login and log off. That may mean only a few get written back. So it doesn't really impede your login times. By turning this on. What it does is if your profile becomes corrupt, like your FSLogix profile or your Profile Unity disk profile becomes corrupt, our portability settings on a Delta differential will say no profile is there, and it will write back the entire profile. Yeah, that logon is going to take a couple more seconds, but the user's still off and running, and there's virtually zero downtime to this process, rather than blowing out the machine and starting over the way you would have to do in a legacy physical desktop environment. So you probably had time to look at these advanced feature sets. A couple others that I'll call out is our trigger points. A lot of things happen with our policy management, log on and log off, but our trigger points let things happen during a user session. That might mean that you're a doctor in a hospital as an end user, and you go up to a separate floor into a patient's room. You want to print out their ailment, how they can take care of themselves, and give that detailed information on them. So you hit print on your tablet that your Windows session's going on. And because of the trigger points in the context-aware settings, you can actually easily deploy context-aware printing, for example, that not only maps a printer, but if you change Wi-Fi access points, you can have a trigger that says every time the user reconnects their Citrix session, simply remap the printers in the area, in the geographical area that they're in. So by doing that, you're able to have the doctor automatically hit print, check the printer closest to them, and that's likely where the file output. That's one example. Another one could be context-aware application deployment. Just because a Flex app hits the desktop, for example, doesn't mean it needs to stay there. They can be recalled, or they can be only applied if certain things ring true. And this is very helpful in the banking industry, and again, healthcare, where you may have patient records that should not be accessed after hours. So if the user logs on to their Citrix session, for example, after hours, applications that would not be within compliance to access from home simply aren't on the desktop, because your trigger point settings have realized that it's after 5:30 p.m. or whatever that you've set up, and those applications that they can access look different than the ones when they're in the office or in the facility where they work. So that's a quick look at Profile Unity and what it looks like currently. If overall your console does not look like this, we would recommend you upgrading to take advantage of new features. This is a net new slide in this What's New webinar that we do every 6 months. Kind of a state of the industry of where Profile Unity is. Profile Unity continues to lead the user environment management market. And this is head and shoulders over having a tool to do this through your VMware license or your Citrix license. As we said, we go far beyond to work across all Windows desktops and all versions of Windows. It continues to be the choice for leading DAS and managed desktop platforms, including Nutanix Frame. You may not know this, but if you use a profile disk within Nutanix Frame and you check that off, you're very likely using Profile Unity's profile disk. We led that area and we secured that OEM several years ago. HP Anywhere, which is the evolved Teradici that they acquired into a desktop unit, they've recently selected Profile Unity as a recommended solution in their for UEM management to be able to provide plug and play, lift and shift, physical to virtual, so you can keep users productive. Log off of one desktop and immediately into the other one in the cloud. They look and feel similar, and the user has access even to their user authored data. So we work across all clouds, as mentioned earlier, and we work across all platforms. There's several things that set us apart, and we are fully compatible if you want to use FS Logics, as stated earlier. So that was Profile Unity. I'll go ahead and talk about FlexApp because these solutions are often sold hand in hand. And when I go into the update slides of what's new in these versions or what's recently new, I'll cover both of them. So likewise, sort of a state of the union on FlexApp. It's the independent leader in application layering. We have some of the biggest enterprises that run Windows today in the world delivering applications this way. Single largest ever account for Liquidware in general was a FlexApp customer, and they're deploying several hundred applications this way to tens of thousands of users, and they're not alone. That desktop enterprise is well over 90,000 users using FlexApp. We have well over a dozen, approaching 24 accounts that have over 7,500 users that have access to FlexApp to deliver applications this way. And then the majority of the other hundreds of customers are well over 1,000 users. So this is a very much enterprise solution and very easily scalable. The innovation is second to none that you find in FlexApp. Its high compatibility rating is what keeps it first. When you test us against other solutions in the market, you'll see that we are 90+ compatible. I've recently seen where one of the platforms say they're 99% compatible. We could say the same thing too. There's some applications that you simply don't want to FlexApp. Virus protection, you may want to keep Office in the base image and other things. And for truth in advertising and to manage expectations, we peg it at 90%, which is extremely high for any application virtualization solution. FlexApp's fully compatible against AVD and Windows 365, including the pending Cloud PC Windows 365 offline mode. That's because we have FlexApp 1. Those containers can go offline on laptops. They'll be able to do it with Windows 365 as well when Microsoft delivers that. We have automated packaging. There's a couple of other vendors that say they have automated, but we're fully unattended automated packaging. Point to your repository of your installers and let our automated packaging framework plow through it over the weekend. Even works the same way SCCM does with silent switches, and then you're ready to test those packages in the next week. I should point out that we're working with a couple companies in the industry, including Application Readiness and Remo3, and they'll be able to test these packages as well and automate that process very soon. FlexApp's automated packaging remains a big differentiator for these big enterprises that may have thousands of applications, because as you can imagine, it can be time consuming to do this. But if you can automate that process and end up with pristine base images, you have a much better scenario going forward to manage your Windows enterprise. Nerdio's recently showcased full compatibility with FlexApp 1, being able to assign those on a very granular basis to machines and have those ready in just seconds for users to use, again, without installing actual software, keeping your base images clean in AVD and Windows 365. Collaboration with Microsoft AVD and 365 continues to be great with Liquidware. I want to tell you today, to be one of the first people, look for a webinar soon with us and Scott Manchester at Microsoft that leads that group, as well as Gabe Knuth from ESG and Tech Target, where we will be talking about this compatibility and the state of the industry. We're likely going to do that next month in January. So look for that and details of that soon. We want to have you attend that as well. Collaboration with app testing vendors, I've already mentioned both of those on here. They're underway now, and FlexApp One continues to innovate. There's going to be things here that I can't tell you today, but know this, FlexApp will continue to lead in this space. So we like to say what's new recently here. So if we look back just a while back, we had FlexApp and Profile Unity version 6.8.4. And I want to remind you, in case you did not update your licenses, that that's the version that gave you multi-session VHD, profile disk, and the VHD feature. It gave the benefit of supporting simultaneous multiple logins and multi-user OS environments. The real benefit is even that VDI multi-logins are supported as well. Portability and multi-session profile disk templates allow that to be set up even easier. We are very point and click on our profile disk, even head and shoulders above FS Logics, which is a good and similar solution to our profile disk. But when you consolidate it under Profile Unity and our profile portability, you can't beat the 1-2 punch of that, giving you enhanced capabilities to have compatibility across mixed operating system versions of Windows and platforms. Enhanced context-aware filter management, where you can see all these views from within one place in the console, and we always help the QA by having bug fixes in every single version. Available since last August of last year is our package automation. I mentioned this briefly, but once we had you had to stand up one console, which meant one machine. FlexApp packaging console, FPC for short, would run on any version of Windows. Most likely it would mimic and look like the operating system environment that you're going to put this into for the highest compatibility. That could take a while to go through each individual application that you may have if you had dozens of applications or hundreds or thousands of applications. But because we're seeing enterprise adoption of FlexApp now, we have full package automation. This is unattended package creation from, as you see here, multiple capture machines at once, unattended, and works with silent switches. And I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth mentioning because it sets FlexApp apart in the industry as a fully unattended automation mechanism. Think about going home on a weekend and coming back on Monday morning, and this process had plowed through dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of applications, and you're ready to test them and assign them. And then again, testing can soon be automated even at that.
Jason, we got a question on that. Someone asked, does that come with Profile Unity?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. Most of the time, our customers will look for Profile Unity and FlexApp. This is available in one easy SKU, and it's at a great discount to buy the two together, and they work hand in hand. Application rights management, the profile piece. Sometimes you have applications over in the profile side of things anywhere, and you can easily see why we've architected the two together to easily be purchased together with the one management console known as the Liquidware console. Now, we do market those as two separate products that you can acquire through the options available from within, but the FlexApp packaging automation is included in any of those licenses that I mentioned.
Yeah, Jason, I would mention too, a lot of my customers have adopted this in 2022 and stood up this infrastructure. The biggest reason, not that it saves them that much time, is just the consistency. So I package an app one way, you package an app another way, somebody else, 6 months later does it again. The automation engine does it the same way every single time. So once you get those switches down and all that set up and configured, the automation really ensures consistency. Is the biggest thing that I see out of this.
Good point. Another reason why I'm glad that we have you doing these with me, not only for the Stratosphere half, but because Chris can talk about real world experience out in the field. You can listen to a marketeer all day long, but when Chris adds the value of the conversation like that, our customers are actually using this. It provides an invaluable input for these webinars. I think the audience would agree. FlexApp One, now I've talked about this a little bit, but we've been delivering this a little over a year. It provides you with one file per app, self-contained executable. You could put multiple ones in it, but it's the easiest to keep those separate. I could literally show you a place where you could download any of my Flex apps and you could be off and running without having anything Liquidware ever installed to your workspace before. If you're familiar with the way that ThinApp used to work with isolation and a self-executing file, similar to that, it will execute the things needed locally and put a small service on that machine if it doesn't already exist. That means the second package that you might run doesn't even do that. It just runs. And that only takes a second to put the service on there and you're off and running. There's no heavy player. You don't have to pre-install some heavy player to the endpoint and manage that. There's one other solution that claims offline that you have to have a very heavy player out there to do the things that you do. FlexApp's not like that. I can send you that single executable and you're off and running. So it can be virtually any application, any Windows application that you packaged up and did a final format change into a FlexApp One, and then it's totally portable. You can take that and you can deploy it through, as I said earlier, Intune even, and have the Profile Unity and FlexApp console totally out of the picture if you wish. So it makes FlexApp even more flexible than it had been before. How do you get FlexApp One? You purchase FlexApp. It's a feature set. It's just an alternative way to deliver a FlexApp package. So it's all one product. Don't be confused thinking it's a separate product. It's not. It's innovation that's built in as a feature set. If you have FlexApp, you have access to be able to turn any of those into FlexApp Ones today. So we support any type of storage for that. I've got several of mine stuck in OneDrive. So they follow me anywhere I go. My OneDrive, anytime I log in to Windows, is in my local PC. Now, if I use my cloud PC, all those apps are in there as containers, and I simply double click them as if they're an application, and they immediately come into that environment. It is follow me applications across any type of Windows infrastructure. You package once and they're working, and they will go cross operating system version as well. Let's pause here and see if there's any other questions as I see the blinking comment bubble. Kristen, do you see any other questions?
I do. So we've got, does FlexApp support now for AVD and Windows 365, or is it due in Q1 of 23?
FlexApp supports AVD and Windows 365 now, as soon as it was available. We tested it, it worked. That was the support for it.
Great.
It's a way of delivering Windows. Great question. And then the Windows 365 offline mode that's not shipped yet from Microsoft, we'll test that, but we feel confident that it's going to work just like any other offline PC works for us.
Okay, an additional question is, how is FlexApp licensed?
License per user. We do that per user or concurrent user. So this prices vary a little bit, and that comes down to just a few dollars per month per user.
Okay, that's all for now.
We also have enterprise licensing. So some of those largest accounts that I mentioned, they talk to us about enterprise licensing. So if you're in the tens of thousands of users, those are options available to you as well. So FlexApp One, it goes hand in hand with FlexApp. Not meant to supersede it, it's meant to make FlexApp even more flexible. Applications can go offline. You can use your whatever software deployment that you're used to. You also have the ability to have the full Liquidware console to be able to manage those even more tightly, and that's the direction that many organizations end up going after they test FlexApp One. You can actually manage FlexApp Ones in the upcoming version of Profile Unity. I believe that's in 6.8.5 or 6 coming in the first half of the year. And that'll give you centralized management of FlexApp One, so you can keep in more tabs on them. You know, because if I give you an executable today, who knows where that went? But if you manage it through Profile Unity and the full console, you get those benefits. Did that cause any other questions to come up, Kristen?
It did, actually. So I have another one. Will FlexApp One virtualize Adobe Creative Cloud Suite products?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've used those myself, and we're able to do the entire suite.
Okay.
So
and then another one.
That's a great benefit because it's a huge application.
Do we need additional licenses to use FlexApp One?
No, it is included.
It is included.
So, yeah, which, yeah, they may have asked that right before, but if not, to reiterate, it is included. It's a feature set. So it's a different format. It's a slightly different format. Instead of it being just a Flex app on a VHD with regular Flex app that gets attached by our agent software, it is a self-contained executable that gets attached when the user double clicks on it, or that you deploy it through Intune, and it has that process.
Now, just to be clear, there is a separate license for FlexApp One that you put on the FlexApp licensing, FlexApp One creation machine, but it is included with FlexApp. Yeah, but there is actually a separate key for it. Yes.
Great clarity, and I think the newest of our customers are getting issued that additional key.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it, let us know, and we'll be glad to generate that for you. You can open that query at support@liquidware.com. If you're a current customer and you'd like to make sure you have the license needed for that if you didn't get one. So I thought, it's picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000 more. This is my own environment showing you how FlexApp One works. Now, you're probably familiar with FlexApp, but if you hadn't seen a FlexApp One demonstration, I'm going to show you that my FlexApp One apps follow me wherever I go, and they follow me right here in OneDrive. So again, anywhere I can log into and authenticate against Office 365, I have my Flex apps. I do have Adobe Creative Suite in here. So that was a great question. Love that one because we're going to show that off today. Camtasia's in here, and I'm going to say, well, see that one pop up? That's because the filter driver wasn't running locally here. That's all that's needed. It's a very small file. And it's already on this machine. This is not time shifted. That was in real time. Now, every one of these applications can launch on double click because that small piece of software is already there. Camtasia's launching. Camtasia is a difficult app for some people to virtualize, some vendors to virtualize. It has filter drivers and other things like that. We used this. I actually used the FlexApp version of Camtasia to do some of my marketing manipulation of videos. And this is one of the files I had just to be able to open here as a program that we'd done sometime a while back. And you see that everything in here works just as if it were natively installed. So you're interacting with all kinds of other drivers and other software in some cases, and it's going very smoothly. So that was Camtasia. We'll open a few more here. Adobe Creative Suite, very pertinent. That question came in. Now look at this open up quickly, and we've got the full Adobe Creative Suite even under the Start menu now, and you can launch it from the native location where you would expect it to be. Then I launched the script, which just opens up and attaches all these applications. So that was one additional thing. So you didn't have to wait on me to double click on everything. And then I've got them all in the Start menu. As you see, Adobe Creative Suite's in here. Those icons will update in a moment, but the full suite is in there, and we're opening up Photoshop just like that. Performance is great, and that's a huge application. Everything's running from that local VHD. So you're not doing anything across the network with FlexApp One. And we've got Inkscape in here, InkView. It's also could overlap with a Profile Unity, with a Adobe license to do something similar in there. It's a similar type of application, but it's an open source one. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you as I go in here is to, I believe what I do next is I go over here and I look into the add remove program files. They're even listed in there now. They look so native to the OS. As soon as I refresh this, you'll see that they all pop up and they're shown in here. This shows you how native it looks. This is what gives you that extreme compatibility. When you install one app that needs to work with another app, it looks like it's there to the app. It looks like it's there to Windows. But as you'll see in a moment, it is totally not in the operating system and has not tainted the base image. Let's look at program files, because that's when you install an application, that's where a lot of files go. So I'm going to hunt around and I'm going to look for where some things have gone. You see TechSmith in here. You also will see Adobe fully in here as well from the Creative Suite. Being so large in there, files look like they're all over the place. And that's good because that makes what gives us the compatibility that we have. But what if we turned off? Look at that Adobe file. What if we turned off the application? And I'm going to stop it right there. Look at the Adobe file. It's gone. It was never there, and the thousands of files that were under there are gone, and the registry keys over in the registry section are gone. They weren't there. The base image is not tainted. Windows does not suffer from Windows rot, and you can more easily manage your Windows enterprise by keeping your application separate. That's a quick demo of FlexApp 1. FlexApp works the same way. It keeps things just as pristine. Did that cause any further questions, Kristen?
It sure did. Okay, so let's see what's up next. How do you attach Flex App 1 via Intune?
So you go in and you have your repository of FlexApp 1s. Let's see if I have a screenshot of that. On the next slide. Good question.
Timely.
How handy was that? Look at the assignments tab here. I'm in Intune here as an administrator. I go basically in here and I put in the application information. In this case, Chrome has been made a Flex app. It's an executable. It's not the Chrome executable that you would normally recognize. It is a Flex app container executable. You could have named it something separate when you packaged it. Chrome _ Flex app. It could be named that. So it is a Flex app. This is the container that you're pointing to. And then you'll click on next the assignments tab, if this were a real Intune session that we were having, and you would assign it to maybe the marketing group needed that, or maybe the sales group needed it, or a specific group. And then you would activate that, and the application would be pushed out to that desktop. The execution would have taken place. Depending on the Flex app rules, you could have it out there as a click to layer, but it would be in those environments. You can even have it show up under the company portal, the company store, part of Windows, if you're familiar with that, and have like a self-service application selection by the end user. It's as easy as that. And in that way, the Profile Unity and Flex App Management Console does not have to be leveraged. The Intune capability, again, is something else that's setting Flex App apart from anybody else in the field.
Okay. What would be additional footprint of Flex services versus locally installed apps?
Good question. Sometimes they have a even smaller footprint for storage. Actually installing the application for Creative Suite, it takes gigabytes usually, and the Flex App container is usually much less than the overall size. Could still be a gigabyte.
You can compress it, and on top of that, our filter driver. So when you're running the application, the filter driver is very efficient. We're in like generation 5 of our filter driver. So the amount of overhead required, think about you're mounting a VHD into the program files and then the registry. So the filter driver is only active when you're reading from that, but it's extremely efficient.
It's efficient. So overall storage, your footprint's going to be a lot less. I would guess probably a lot of times 30% of the original file. Don't hold me to that, but I've seen that for the overall application that's being stored all over the operating system is much more efficient. And then, as said, there'll be a little bit of resource usage for the filter driver, but it's very efficient.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this is, think about like my laptop is 3 years old. So I've gone through hundreds of versions of Google Chrome, upgrade. When you encapsulate it into a Flex App 1, there's no upgrade. So there's none of that left behind crap from 4 years ago. Literally every time my HR guys or my IT guys a new version of an application, it's a brand new install. There is no old upgrade of DLLs and all that stuff sitting around. It is a brand new attachment of that application, pristine.
Okay, just a couple more quick questions here. How are the application settings made by the user saved and restored as part of profile management?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you're using Profile Unity, they'll just be stored there. If you're using local profiles, they'll be stored there. If it's Windows 365, it has a local profile. It's a persistent desktop. So you could be running our solution on top of that too to back that up. But if you're using FS Logics, they're stored there.
Yeah, Flex App 1 only stores the application. Then the user settings would be under C users, percent username percent, which your profile manager, either Profile Unity, Flex App 1, roaming profiles would pick all of that up and move it around for the user. Yep.
Okay, last question. Does Flex app support multi-session operating systems?
Yes.
It does, absolutely. And you can have it in Citrix on a Citrix server, one single Citrix server, and 6, 7, 8, a dozen, 100 different profile types of people. Let's just stick to departments though. HR,
It's really
finance,
easy.
marketing, sales, development,
Yep.
all those, they could all be using the same Citrix server or Windows 10, 11 multi-session server on AVD as a modern example. And user A doesn't see what user B applications, what they have access to. We call this session isolation.
Yep. And you don't have to mess with the base image. So the cool thing is, I could spin up, 10 Citrix servers, blank, nothing on them, load a Flex App 1 up in just 2 seconds, and that application is available for all the users on that platform. Same thing in AVD, Windows 10 multi-user. It keeps that base image clean, and my
So
applications are literally attached. Yep, very
So you
powerful.
can use it for all users. Now you can see how you can get down to a single base image, a single group of machines. Those same 10 machines that Chris is talking about could be the same exact image. Maybe you do have one or two images that are different because you wanted something in the base image of one or the other. But regardless, you're going from 30 or 40 maybe Citrix servers for multiple base images and to scale down to 10 sometimes. So it's incredibly making your management of your Windows enterprise, no matter how you're delivering it, more efficient by separating out apps from base image, session isolation, and the benefits are great. And that's why some of the largest enterprises are adopting it. All right, I'm going to keep moving on so we can get to Stratosphere here shortly, but this is an image of the company portal where we might have deployed them there. And then it's sort of like a self-serving app store for the user. This is a feature, if you're not familiar with company portal, I think it showed up in Windows 10 and later, probably a later version of 10 and later. And in here, the user can double click on any of these apps that are already Flex apps and they're in their environment. So it's a neat way of getting them out because we're fully compatible with that as well. All right, what's coming soon? Profile Unity Flex App 6.8.4 R2. It consolidates a lot of hot fixes that we had for Profile Unity and for Flex App. We're looking that this is actually already out, right, Chris? And
yep.
It's been delivered since earlier this year. The Windows 11 and Server 22 support was in there. Path overrides feature. It had filtering support and again, bug fixes. Now we're looking ahead to 6.8.5, which was the slide I thought I was looking at a moment ago, but that's coming up soon. It's planned for Q1 right now. There's been other things that have put in that we have put in 6.8.5, maybe a little later than we had planned initially, but we have to release things in R2 and in subsequent updates. But this is going to be a large release coming out in 6.8.5. Universal folder redirection, which will help you anytime you're looking at a way to manage your Windows folders for your users differently, where you had limitations on one way or another. Those will be overcome and actually overcome some of the ways that you do that for Windows. Certain folders couldn't be redirected, but we're overcoming that. We're able to universally do all folders. Registry redirection in the same way. Cloaking right in the product. I know you can get cloaking maybe built in from Microsoft, but one UI, maybe not built in from Microsoft, maybe you can add it, but in one UI and everything, we'll have that in there. It'll be in our application restrictions module. Again, single pane of glass, easier to manage that way in the Profile Unity Flex App Management Console that way. You'll be able to convert App Vs into Flex App. Why is this important? Because there's already an end of life announced for App V. It's a great way to pick up where you left off there until you can take the time to go ahead and package them up for Flex App, which might be arguably a lot easier to do anyway for many of those apps. Same way, convert MSIXs into Flex App so you have a single pane of glass and you're bringing them all in under one method. You could leave those as MSIXs, that's fine too, but you can bring them in under Flex Apps very quickly for single pane of glass and one way to deploy your apps. Flex App 1 integration in the packaging console, I told you about that earlier. So you can manage Flex App 1s if you want to from the console. FlexApp Packager API, and why is this great? When these other vendors that do smoke test of applications and other things like that, when this comes out, this will be an even easier way to hook in to FlexApp for other vendors to hook in. Predictive block caching, that'll speed some things up for the traditional version of FlexApp, getting things to the endpoint, not having to rely full-time on the network connection. Triggers to assign FlexApps will be in there, and it supports compliance use cases. Packager built-in OS rollback, so your packaging consoles, they'll be able to invoke Windows rollback and go back to an earlier point in time. Automatic operating system optimizations for your packaging consoles, so it keeps those machines quieter and from any ancillary noise that's being created by other things in the Windows operating system. Version control with FlexApp. Prior to this, you've had the ability to name Chrome 1 and Chrome 2 and things like that, so you could differentiate. But we actually have a version control field coming out that'll make things a little better. FlexApp alerts posted to the event viewer for quick log analysis and troubleshooting. Merging layers, so after the fact, if you want to take two VHDs and make them one because it's a departmental thing, you'll be able to easily do that. Post login support means the applications that could come in the background, you can simply set those up to silently just come on in the background and show up on the desktop. So there's no seconds at login hold up or anything like that. So we got the most ways to layer, and I've said that before. At boot time, you can cloak them to login time, post login, trigger, click the layers. The most flexible solution, which is why we named it FlexApp. This is a look at the packaging console. It's coming soon. You'll have these features in for importing NAPVs and converting MSIXs if you wish. And I believe I've taken probably more time than I planned, but we had some great questions. I want to hand it off to Chris Walker for Stratosphere UX update. Chris, I can cover the slide if you wish, but
yeah, go ahead.
Let me know. This is also a state of the industry for Stratosphere UX. Of course, we give those updates, but this is a little bit in general why Stratosphere UX has remained a digital experience monitoring leader, and we continue to lead the market. We work with the latest workspaces of AVD and 365, and we provide additional metrics for Azure in some cases there. We support any cloud, any platform, and again, baselining from one to the next, being that third-party trusted monitoring solution is very important, that you don't just rely on basic monitoring from your workspace vendor, but you go for advanced monitoring and have a third-party trusted one in there that can help you baseline and have a direction, because Windows is more dynamic than ever. As you've seen in the last several years, it's speeding up. More versions coming out faster, more ways to deliver it, and the desktop that you have today for your organization might not be the same way you deploy it even in 10 months time from now. It might be totally different. You might not even know that yet. So having these solutions third party and leading is a great thing. New UI is planned in 6.7. I think you'll get a sneak preview of that in Q2. We have true integration with ServiceNow. So a lot of our customers use ServiceNow for trouble tickets and other things. They wanted their Stratosphere data in there in custom views. And we didn't do this just through HTML and serving up views there. Chris Walker actually helped develop this with one of our partners that's experts at ServiceNow. And this plugin is available. You can even see it through the ServiceNow catalog and on the ServiceNow website. You can get to it that way. Collaboration with application testing vendors is also present on this side, because you have to know what applications are in use before you have a short list to know what to package and test, right? So an application methodology is important from Stratosphere, and that is know what applications are installed on desktops, but also know which ones have actually been used, because you're about to clean up and deliver a new Windows workspace in all likelihood. And this can shortlist that so you have a good starting place for the process to get to your new platform. The Power BI integration that we have is very easy. It's easy to get data out of Stratosphere, easier than just about any other vendor. In addition to that, the powerful API that we have allows you to do that too. Power BI is not the only one supported. There's other platforms. Any reporting engine can be supported to export data to it to make the reports look any way you wish. We have arguably more support for Edge and Thin OSs than anyone else. Look at all these that we list, and I think I've even missed one or two. Chrome is another one, not in this list, that we are providing support for now. Basic support and advanced support we plan coming soon. iGel, Stratodesk, Tenzig, ZTIM, keep going with all those others in there. And you have more Edge OSs supported. Why is that important? That's because those versions of those platforms, a lot of them run IoT, or they run a custom version of Linux. You need to see what your digital experience is for users on that endpoint, as Chris Walker likes to say, first mile of connectivity before you ever get to that Windows session in the cloud, which we also monitor. Then we correlate the two and everything in between. That gives you a full digital experience monitoring picture, and you're not going to get that from everybody in the industry. You get it from some that support some of these platforms, but we support more than everyone else, and that's why you chose Stratosphere UX, and why you'll continue, I'm sure, to be a happy customer. Chris?
Yep. So back in March, we released our Stratosphere 6.6.0 version. This was a huge release because this was actually an in-place upgrade. Our developers worked 6-8 months on this particular upgrade because we were switching from CentOS over to Oracle Linux, and that's just basically for support purposes and Fed contracts and other things like that. A lot of new features, machine location services, local accounts on the system. So a lot of security updates coming there. Windows 11 compatibility test. So can my machine actually run or do a Windows 11 in-place upgrade? Do I need to format it? Or, what will the machine even support Windows 11? It's about 15 different tests that we did, and we had to upgrade our agent to pull more data about the TPM chip and things like that. So a lot of cool features came out last March with 6.6.0. Most of my customers have upgraded it. Then in September, we released 6.6.1, a few more security updates, bug fixes, things like that, highlighting the thresholds. So we're actually trying to get in more of what I call my spot check methodology into the product, so it's more color coded and actually gives you standard deviation. So I can look at login breakdown and see how much my group policy computer changed in between individual users and the deviation there. Mac agent upgrades. We did a huge overhaul back in June or July of the Mac agent to make it fully feature parity with the Windows. And then some UI performance increases to help you speed up the interface as well. Next slide, Jason. All right, I think only part of that. There we go. All right. So yeah, end-to-end metrics. When we talk about Stratosphere, the biggest thing is, we're bought most of the time to run into VDI infrastructure. Then we found out, hey, nothing's wrong with VDI, but everybody's blaming Citrix, everybody's blaming Horizon, everybody's blaming Azure or Amazon. So having that agent on that physical machine in the field, make, model, serial number, temperature of the CPU. I talked about this back when we did the one back in June as well. One of the biggest things I found with people at home is they're putting their machine on top of a pillow and it's going into heat protection mode. But then they're complaining about Citrix being slow when their machine is really just trying to keep from catching on fire. Time ranges, login information, boot X-ray, all of that stuff. So monitoring their Wi-Fi statistics at their house, how far they are from the access points. No one has ever told us that we don't have enough metrics. They oftentimes complain that we have too many metrics, but at the end of the day, when you're diagnosing a problem, I need every single one of those data points. I need to know that you're changing frequencies from 2.4 to 5 gigahertz, and it's causing your VPN to reestablish itself. Sometimes it's really that simple. Okay, next slide. All right, so Jason talked about Power BI, also talked about ServiceNow. Stratosphere has had an API since day one. And this API builder has aggressed and kind of evolved over the years. We're actually going to be rewriting it again next year in a new language to be much faster and have more capabilities. But the API builder and the API allow me to pretty much integrate with any platform. So whether you want to do it in an Excel spreadsheet, you want to do it in PowerShell, ServiceNow, Tableau. I did a customer yesterday in Splunk. It doesn't matter. I teach you the API and the API builder, and then you hand that to the Power BI guy, you hand it to the Splunk guy, and they can then use that to pull data from Stratosphere. Yesterday, they were building executive dashboards in Splunk because that's what the company uses. Then another company I was talking to this morning, they had a different graphing system, and I just showed them the API, showed it to developers. Developers like, hey, okay, have a nice day, 30-minute phone call. Now they're often generating management level dashboards, users on the system, how long did it take them to log in, what are the top applications people are using, what is the top latency, load on my environment. Very easy for those users and developers to pull that into their system because Stratosphere with the API exposes all the different metrics available from a user, machine, or an application level. Next slide. All right, so we talked about ServiceNow. We released the 1.5 version in September of 2021. I am getting ready to do an update of that. That will come in Q1 of 2022. Not really new features, just my certification on the environment and a few little add-ons that customers have asked for. But this has been really powerful for our customers, getting that data, the Stratosphere data, into the hands of the ticketing people. So I want to be able to call up the help desk. They see the last 4 or 5 machines I was logged into. They can see my Wi-Fi statistics. Basically, they're not having to query. Say, hey, can you go to your Wi-Fi settings and tell me what frequency you're running right now? That's users don't know how to do that. So I need to have all that data available to the person on the ticketing system and say, hey, you know, you look to be at your home office today, but yesterday when you opened the ticket, you were at a different IP address. Oh, yeah, I was at a Starbucks coffee shop. And you were complaining about Citrix, but I see now you're back at your house and Citrix is okay. Okay, I'm going to close the ticket. Don't go back to that Starbucks coffee shop. Next slide. All right, Power BI integration. Most customers that I've found have access to, through normal Microsoft licensing, you have access to Power BI. If you're familiar with Excel and all the different capabilities of Excel, averaging, standard deviation, all that power is also available in Power BI. So using our API builder, really about a 30-minute class, to use the API to pull out metrics, you drop it into Power BI, then Power BI has thousands of little widgets. So whether I want a bar chart, a pie chart, you know, and I want it to be red and on this color, you can do thresholds. All that stuff is very easy to do in Power BI. Next slide. We've also spent a lot of time with our customers, and we've already built hundreds of Power BI templates. So working with our customers, like this is a tactical dashboard, maybe for the help desk. Red, green, yellow, you know, heat maps, things like that, to be able to look real quickly at a big board in my help desk environment and be able to tell tactically what's going on. How does it compare to last week? How does it compare to this month? Next slide. Executive dashboards. So executives want higher level information. They don't want CPU queue and memory and megabytes and gigabytes and throughput. They want to know loading information. They want to know where the user is coming from based on location services. How happy, what's their user experience score? So executives are looking for higher level, and that's where Power BI really shines, because of all the different widgets that they have in there. I can pretty much give them any color scheme they want to, provide them the data, and it's updated, you know, hourly or however often they want to update that information. Next slide. This year has been the year of our Optimizer tool. So Optimizer's been out, I believe, for over 5 or 6 years now. And if you're not familiar with it, anybody who owns Stratosphere, you can turn on the process optimization function underneath the CID management. What this does is prioritize the foreground application. So on my laptop right now, I'm running a Citrix webinar. In the background, I have a YouTube video running. I've got Teams running and all kinds of things running on my laptop, and it's getting stressed. So because I'm in my foreground application is the Citrix webinar, it is above normal. All those applications in the background, Optimizer automatically sets to low so they can't interfere with my foreground-based applications. So immediate impact of Optimizer, and one of the main reasons we built it, was for physical machines, to be able to extend the life of that equipment. Some customers have seen 6 to 18 month life extension of those devices because the foreground application is being upset to above normal. We sent 10,000 people home. I'm doing SCCM updates in the middle of the day while they're trying to work. That SCCM process will be pushed down to low, and their application that they're using will be above normal. Here's an ROI impact analysis that we're now doing with our customers, built by our Power BI team. And this is showing how we can actually increase density. This was done for a customer in Azure, and by analyzing the data in Stratosphere, changing the tier machine that they were on, we were able to increase his density from 2.76 to 4.7 users per virtual machine and actually improve the user experience. This also had a side effect, a very nice side effect, of saving them $1.5 million in Azure spend per year, because they went to a smaller number of machines, although be it a higher tier machine, they went to a smaller tier machine. The CPU, memory, queuing, swapping, all were reduced inside the environment and gave the user a much better experience. So any customer is currently running Stratosphere, we can provide you with this Power BI template. You can point it at a machine group where Optimizer is turned off. Then next week, turn on Optimizer, run it again, and you'll be able to compare and actually see the impact of Optimizer. We've had a very hard time since it came out of actually quantifying what Optimizer was doing in the environment, and now with Power BI, we've been able to basically visualize this and crunch all those big numbers. Next slide. All right, Jason, back to command control. This is exciting.
Yep. So, yeah, we are excited. We're excited to tell you about a fourth solution that we will have in the next year. And we recently announced it, and the beta is already ongoing. We would love to have any of you in that beta program. You can send us a query about it, and we'll tell you how to get involved. We've got the sign-up sheet on our website, actually. Kristen, maybe you can paste it in, the beta URL. That's probably the easiest way to do it. And it's going very well. You may ask us, what's command control? Well, it is a remediation and help desk solution meant to complement Stratosphere. Stratosphere is an expert solution in historic views and up to near-time real data, being able to gather these metrics and efficiently store them to where you can data mine them and you can use them for decision support on overall overarching decisions to make with your environment, and how to troubleshoot, how your environment is being stress tested in the real world, and to have trends and analysis. Command control is real time. It's able to look at all the way down to the processes run on those machines, the top 5 RAM consumers that you see here, CPU consumers as well. You're seeing it in real time. These screens change and they move while you're looking at it. It is not a static report. So the two are meant to complement each other in a big way, and we'll have some touch points to go from one to the next eventually. But it's going to be a very powerful solution to come out. It does do some monitoring, some active monitoring, and then it is help desk remediation. So it's like what you may know in the industry as being 2 types of different solutions, those into one, available for one convenient price. It's a SaaS-based solution. You're able to do all these things, including an innovative feature that allows you to do remote control of it. But remote control is almost a commodity these days. The thing that really sets us apart is also the DVR, what we're dubbing a DVR. You're familiar how that works for your TV. We're not screen scraping here or saving sessions or recording sessions. We're recording the data behind the session, such as what Task Manager looks like in real time and things like that. So if someone calls the help desk and they log a call and they don't get called back to the afternoon, they go, great, my machine's not doing it now, it's running fine. Say, well, when was that occurring? What was happening at 11 o'clock to about after lunch, your time, and that's okay. Let me look at it, and you go back and you can look to see what those processes were doing at that time, and you can literally do it just like you can on your TV. You can drag the little icon and go back in time and forward in time and say, I see it right here. You're right, it's not happening now because you closed that app and that's the problem app, and you pinpointed it and you said, let's update that app, and then you fixed it, and they're off and running. And so that's just some of the things that we can do. And that's some of the other innovative things that we can do is we very much in this age of everyone having a virtual desktop, including what we see is an explosion in Windows 365 and Cloud PC coming soon, where you have a physical type desktop in the cloud. It's really virtual, but it's a one-to-one. You'll be able to correlate when someone calls the help desk, the local machine with the virtual desktop. And that could be Citrix or anybody else too. I use Windows 365 as an example. So you can basically toggle back and forth, correlate that. So it is a very much modern help desk and remediation solution. And those are some of the innovative things about it. We'd love to have you in the beta program. And to learn more about it, you can continue to watch your inbox closely, because we have very little about it on our website now, but we've also hired up in this area, and you'll start to see collateral for it in the next couple of months right before launch. And it will be available for an additional add-on SKU price. We don't know exactly how many bundles will be available, but there should be a bundle discount for existing customers. So our customer support tends to be excellent. Satisfaction rating over 98% since 2016, and we actually are either 99 or 100% for the last 12 months. 24/7 support options remain available for a premium, but we have great standard support as well. I'm sure if you dealt with any of our support staff, based on the metrics, you've had a very positive feedback and experience. This is another reason why you choose Liquidware. So further resources after today, you can always look at the website. You can always look at the community.liquidware.com. Watch that picture closely, because we're going to do some neat things with community next year too. And then you can, if you're seeing things today that you don't have access to, you can always go out to our website and download those today, except for the beta. And I've told you how to get in there. Kristen, I believe, has now pasted something into your window that you can click and get involved with that beta really easily. All right, with that, Kristen, you want to see if there's any other questions that may have come in?
We do have a number of questions, but since time is running out, I think we can only maybe take a couple of them. Is the historical data stored in the Liquidware database, or do we need a separate database to store the historical data?
For Stratosphere, it's stored on site. So there are two different solutions really providing two different things. So Stratosphere data would be stored in your data center or in your cloud. If you're talking about command control, that is a SaaS-based offering, which is stored in our system. So it is basically stored in the cloud, SaaS. So yes, Stratosphere on site, command control in the cloud.
Okay, great. And then the last question, version control. Do we have control to approve the version change by email approval, or a trigger to lead before the app change is applied?
Yes. So if you do the automation and you put a version number in there, and actually one of our engineers, Jack Smith, has written a lot of PowerShell scripts to integrate with other technologies, and that allows them to provide that single step. So I don't want to package a new version, immediately push it out to users, things like that. I want to be able to approve it, test it, and then push it out. You can have it automatically. So a new version of Chrome showed up, I can have it fully automated. It can download from one of the different packages systems on the internet, package that version of Google Chrome, fully automate it, and push it out if you want to. Or I recommend that you test in a test environment. But either way you want, it can be done. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, Jason. And if you do have any additional questions, or we were not able to get to your question, please reach out to sales@liquidware.com. You'll be receiving an email within a few business days for a link to the recording of this webinar, and please share with your colleagues. Anything else, Jason and Chris?
Well, we appreciate it. Again, this is December of 22, and we'd like to wish you happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.